Michael Folan from Cincinnati, Ohio. I run Infinit Nutrition, and we are in Kona, Hawaii, the nicest place on earth right now. I think nutrition is really the hardest part in a lot of ways. There's a lot of information out there as far as power training and working with coaches and actually how to do the physical part. But the nutrition right now, there's a lot of voodoo science out there that there's some pretty basic tenets with nutrition that you really need to master. The other thing is the longer you go, the nutrition becomes more and more critical. If you're doing an hour crit race or running a half marathon or a sprint triathlon, most athletes can do just fine on some drink and a gel or two. But really, once you get over 3 or 4 hours, the nutrition becomes critical. And there's a couple of tenets that you just need to pay attention to. My company is Infinit Nutrition, Infinit.mov, and our whole tenet is that we create custom-made solutions for individual athletes. The whole idea that, hey, my powder is the best is kind of stupid when you think about it. I mean, there's athletes that are 225 pounds and there's a 100-pound female. The same powder is not going to work for both. So what we do is give athletes a platform to actually create what tastes right, but also has the right amount of calories, electrolyte, add protein, and even caffeine specifically for them. So rather than using this melange of 5 different products like salt pills, gels, bars, and drinks, we're putting in everything in their bottle, making it isotonic with the correct way of doing things. So literally, it's a drink and go system. You don't need anything else.
And how do you determine what is the proper combination?
Well, again, there's certain tenets with nutrition, and just to kind of go, typically most people need about 2 calories per pound of lean body mass. So if you're a 160-pound guy, you're right around 300 calories is your hourly caloric needs. If you're a 100-pound female, you're right around 200. Again, a lot of variability. The other thing is that anytime you're working with a sports drink, you want to be a label reader and make sure that when you see multiple carbohydrates, meaning maltodextrin most people use, but you also do want to include simple sugars, meaning glucose, sucrose. Typically we stay away from fructose, but the more types of sugars that you actually get in a drink, the more calories that your body absorbs. And there's tons of science out there. The whole concept of no simple sugars or simple sugars is bad is just not factually accurate. And there's a lot of science out there to back that up. Well, you're limited in the amount of sugar that you're actually able to have in your body when you start a race. So you've got typically an hour and a half or 2 of glycogen that's actually inside of your body stored. So when you get past that point, you have to replace it or you're going to end up in the med tent. And then it's really a question of what's the most efficient way to get calories in your body, putting the least amount of stress on your gut, and process that at efforts at 80 to 90% of AT. So that's kind of what we look at is what's the easiest way and the most benign way of keeping stuff inside of your body without overloading it and doing all the stuff is getting bloated and sick and all that kind of
It's
stuff.
It's hard enough to cover the distance at the speed you're expecting without having your stomach or GI tract work overtime as well.
Right.
Because it already is it not?
Yeah, it is. And there's a couple of things is that generally there's a product, I'm sure you heard the term isotonic solutions. You want to make sure that whatever you're putting in your gut is isotonic, and that's the great thing about liquid nutrition is that you can be very precise with the amount that you're actually putting in your stomach and not putting too much. So what happens is if you get too much stuff, if you eat a bar and you're drinking sports drink and gels, you can end up with wallpaper paste in your gut. So what happens to happen is your body actually has to pull water to dilute it in order to get it to pass. That will dehydrate you. So if you can keep things isotonic, there's a property called osmolality, which is a density property. You want an isotonic solution that is just basically going to go into your gut and just process right out. And the key is the balance to put the right amount of stuff, keep it isotonic, multiple carbohydrates, and then that's going to be the easiest way for your gut to process. You don't want to be digesting stuff. Your body doesn't want a cheeseburger. It just wants something that's just going to go right through you. Yeah. Really, 70.3 to Ironman is a huge difference. It's like doing the difference between your 3-hour ride with your boys on a Sunday versus a century or a 6-hour or 12 or 24-hour race. Then nutrition is critical because if you start getting behind, if you start putting too much stuff in your gut, it's almost this effect where if you start getting behind or if you start getting sick, it's going to affect you throughout your day, and it's very difficult to stay on top of it. So it's just, you have to be much more precise with your nutrition the longer that you go.
Okay.
It kind of depends. I mean, I think the thing that's really interesting is that if somebody tells you that their stuff has magic, it's going to make you grow hair smarter or, whatever, I just walk away, because at the end of the day, it's sugar and salt. That's the key. I mean, there's nothing terribly complicated about nutrition. It's carbohydrate and electrolyte, and in some cases protein, which helps you from getting hungry. And it's the simpler the better. It's the old less is more kind of adage that, as long as you're keeping things simple, generally people perform better. So I've had guys, and I don't recommend this for everybody, but I've had guys literally come and buy my stuff on a Friday and PR on a Saturday on an Ironman by 20 minutes and done phenomenally well, because my company's a very simple product. I mean, we're unique because we're putting a platform that allow guys to do their own thing. But we're pretty simple at the end of the day. So the complication is really where people get into problems, I think. And here in Kona, it's crazy to me that most of the top, guys that are going to be 1, 2, 3 in the age groups are all Infinit customers. So they really understand the fact that if you can keep it simple, drink my formula for 6 hours, I don't have to mess around with anything else, and they perform really, really well.
One less thing to worry about.
One less thing to worry about, exactly. Infinit.nutrition.com, just go to the website. You can actually create your own custom mix. We've got some presets, or we've got ways that if we want, we can give you a call and we'll create a mix for you. Everything's guaranteed, 100% money back guarantee, so it's a stud.